program is designed by the Space Exercise Equipment Company, SEEC, and has been created to ensure the procedures necessary for the safe operation by astronauts of the Advanced Resistance Exercise device in space. This training is necessary to prevent the loss of bone density while in outer space and to allow astronauts to return to Earth in the same physical state and condition that they left in. This training complies with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration standards for exercise equipment intended for installation in the International Space Station. Throughout the course of this training, we'll cover the purpose of ARED, its assembly process, how to operate the device, exercise and training, exercises that can be performed on the ARED, maintenance, personal protective equipment, and permitting. ARED stands for Advanced Resistance Exercise Device. Since the International Space Station was constructed, it has served as a research laboratory, allowing scientists to examine the effect on the human body of living in space. The International Space Station remains in a reduced gravity state. Subsequently, it requires less muscle to perform tasks in outer space. So without proper exercise, the muscles deteriorate, and astronauts experience a loss of bone density. In order to maintain healthy muscle usage, astronauts must work out about 2 hours a day. The ARED is designed specifically for use in a reduced gravity environment. Through proper use of the ARED, astronauts are able to maintain muscle strength, bone strength, and endurance. This training is to ensure the safety of all inhabitants of the International Space Station, regardless of the duration of their occupation aboard the research facility. Through its proper implementation, productivity aboard the ISS can remain consistent and ensure proper health levels needed to correctly re-enter Earth's atmosphere.
The ARED is attached to the International Space Station through a vibration isolation system, also called VIS. It isolates the energy of the astronaut using the ARED to ensure the movement of the ARED does not harm the International Space Station. The ARED cannot be bolted to the International Space Station because even slight movement of the astronaut in the ARED could harm the International Space Station. Two canisters in the back of the machine contain a vacuum which is pulled against to operate the machine. The resistance of the vacuum forces simulates weight training. A dial is used to change the resistance to change how much weight is lifted. For bar exercises, the load can be adjusted from 0 to 2,670 newtons, which is 0 to 600 pounds in a 1G environment. For cable exercises, the load can be loaded up to approximately 670 newtons, which is about 150 pounds in a 1G environment. When the user is done with the machine, always rack the bar in a locked position to ensure the bar won't move until it is needed again.
This is astronaut Mike Hopkins from the Countermeasures Training Room at NASA JSC. And today I'm going to talk to you about the crown jewel of our countermeasures devices up on orbit, and that's the ARED, which is the Advanced Resistive Exercise Device. And this is ARED, and this is what we use to help counteract the effects of losing muscle mass and also bone loss, one of our primary tools. And so actually it looks a little bit different than your squat rack that you might have in your local gym. But it has some of the same functions in the sense that we do squats on this. We can do deadlifts, bench press, shoulder press, things of that nature. And it's very effective for us, and it's really been very helpful for increasing our fitness when we actually return back to Earth. So how does it work? Well, we actually have two canisters here that have vacuum in them, and so we pull against that vacuum, and we can just dial in different loads with the handle right here, and we can change how much weight we're lifting. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a demo here with the squat. And so some of the first things we have to do is make sure this bar is at the right height for each individual. And so in this case, I'm going to need to rotate the handles. And so each one can be rotated individually. And then after that, there's numbers along the side here. And so for each of our lifts, this is some of the stuff we do here on the ground as we figure out what the right setting is for each of us. And so I now have it set up, and this is the plate that we have up in orbit. This black platform that you see me standing on isn't actually there on orbit. So then I would dial in the right load. I can step in. And now we do a squat. Once we're done, we rack it, and we can float back, and that's how we use ARED. And so again, it's been great training on it, but I'm definitely ready to use this up on orbit. Thanks.
The machine allows several different exercises, including squat, bench press, deadlift, and shoulder press. In order to do a squat properly, start with the hips back with knees straight. When squatting, keep the back straight to reduce strain and focus on keeping the knees in line with the feet to avoid knee pain. When doing a bench press, make sure to tuck the elbows at 75 degrees when lowering the bar to mid-chest to avoid shoulder pain.
Properly and safely all the time. Today we'll be learning the deadlift.
When performing the deadlift, begin with the feet directly underneath the hips. Grip the bar right outside of the legs with the arms straight. Head is in a neutral position. Bar should be in contact with the shins with the weight shifted back into the heels. Shoulders are in front of the bar. Butt is back and below the shoulders, but above the knees, keeping the lumbar curve intact. Driving through the heels, stand with the hips and the chest rising at the same time. Reach full extension of the hips and knees at the top of the movement.
When doing a shoulder press, keep a narrow grip and never flare the elbows to avoid shoulder pain. Further training on performing proper exercise techniques safely must be given by authorized personnel prior to leaving Earth's orbit to ensure the safety of the users and people around them. Training on the ARED on land is required before use is permitted on the International Space Station. This is required because measurements of weight capacity relative to the crew member must be predetermined so that it may already be set for use on the ISS. While in flight, data gathered from each crew member's use will be sent to the ARED Instrumentation Box, or AIB, and recorded using the ARED tablet personal computer. The computer can send exercise prescriptions to the Mission Control Center's PC. This previous training to determine weight measurements must be done under the supervision of medical personnel and a certified personal trainer to determine the correct and safe weight for each crew member based on their body structure and capacity to comfortably lift weight. Replacing electrical cables at flex joints, brake cables, and exercise cables should be done annually. These cables should be examined monthly for gradual deterioration to ensure safety of users. Calibration should be examined and recalibrated annually. The necessary personal protective equipment, or PPE, required for the use of ARED consists of the average everyday workout attire. This includes non-slip tennis shoes to prevent tripping and any possible injuries that could take place. A permit of approval for use is needed from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, to ensure that the ARED is a safe, efficient way for the crew members to maintain their health while on the International Space Station.
It is each user's responsibility to know how to properly use the machine safely and correctly. It is NASA's responsibility to make sure astronauts are trained and healthy enough to use it. Periodic health checks must be performed at NASA's discretion.